Hello and welcome to the Unhinged Binge, a podcast where I, your host, LeGault, rant and raves in an unhinged manner about things and stuff, typically 80s horror movies, but not always. And today we're going on a fall break. We're gonna have a good time. Yeah, 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 yeah. This is the 1984 film The Mutilator, which was originally going to be called Fall Break due to the plot of the movie. So I guess this is technically a holiday horror movie. I don't know what Fall Break is. Apparently, no one does. That's why the director, Buddy Cooper, changed the name to The Mutilator because that made more sense. This is what I personally call a regional movie. Regional just means this isn't made by any studio. This wasn't produced by anyone in the industry. This is just a group of people making a movie in a local area. In this case, I think North Carolina. This was pretty well, I don't know if it was common. It was more common in the 80s to do this with the explosion of VHS and the reduced cost of getting filming equipment. It was a lot easier for people anywhere to just make a movie. And I think of all the regional movies I've seen, this is definitely a great one. The tagline reads, I love this, by sword, by axe, by picks, bye bye. Love it. And it's one of those movies with a great name and a great poster, which for an 80s movie, I think more than anything, that's kind of that's kind of really all you had to have to get great rentals. And I don't know how much money this cost to make or how much they earned, but I know as of my recording this in 2024, they did make a sequel. Buddy Cooper did, the director. It has not been picked up for distribution by anyone that I can find. It's not even available to rent that I could find. It's just they've showed it to some festivals, and I think Joe Bob Briggs showed it at the drive-in. That's really about it, which is unfortunate because I mean, if you pay to make a movie and you don't distribute it anywhere, there's no way you can get any return on your investment, right? So I'm really confused by like why no one has picked this up for distribution. Because I think of like 80s slasher movies, this is kind of a pretty well-known one. It's weird. I don't know. But if I ever get a chance to watch the sequel, I'll definitely review it because I love this movie so much. So I guess without spoilers, I'll just say obviously I would absolutely recommend this movie to anyone who likes an 80s slasher movie. It's really one of the better ones. And now to get into spoilers, we open with a mother, played I believe by Buddy Cooper's wife, making a cake for Big Ed, her in-movie husband, for his birthday, while their son, Ed Jr., is cleaning his father's guns, which seems super safe. And after pointing said firearm at himself, which seems super safe, he points it at the door with his finger on the trigger, which seems super safe. And being super safe, pulls the trigger, thus firing the weapon. It goes through the door, like explodes the door, and kills his mother. And like explodes his mother. It's kind of slow motion. And it's honestly a pretty good kill. Poor Big Ed and poor Ed Jr. So he did this just in time for his father to come home and see. Ed Jr. kind of runs away after his father shoves him and then slaps him and chases him out of the room with the same firearm. Ed Jr. runs and kind of hides behind a door, watching as his father, Big Ed, pulls his wife's corpse into the gun room, pours himself and her a drink, and then puts the sign that Ed Jr. left for his birthday on his wife's neck. And he just kind of sits there looking all sad as we hear sirens, which is sane. In fact, I don't think he has a line of dialogue in this movie, which I don't know if I like or not. I don't hate it, but I don't know. Would it have been better if he had spoken? Who knows? Who's to say? But the sign read, "Happy birthday, Daddy, all cleaned by me." Poor Ed Jr.'s life is totally ruined now. Anyway, cut to the song. We're going on a fall break. It's like if you've never, I mean, obviously, if you're listening, you've seen the movie, I hope, but it sounds like a like an 80s sitcom theme song, you know? Like I could see this being the opening for like Three's Company or what's an upbeat one? Like Facts of Life. Yes, like Facts of Life. Just sub it out. Fall break. So we find a group of college kids sitting at a bar complaining that it's fall break and they have no plans. And I still don't get it because fall's when school starts. So like why are you already having a break, guys? So we meet our victims. Characters. We meet our characters. Ed Jr., of course, kind of the main guy. His love interest, Pam. We meet the jokester, Ralph. Linda, who's the girl with curly hair. And Mike, who's tall and tan. Later, we'll meet Ralph's love interest, Sue, who's the blonde. And that's as identifiable as they get. I'm sorry if I mixed their names up later. I really tried. Ed Jr. apparently has a telephone call at the bar, which seems to me that they must either go there a lot or his father's stalking him. Either way, his dad has called him. And while he's talking on the phone, Pam explains the opening of the movie to us, which was 5 minutes ago. So I'm glad they did that because we couldn't have figured it out. And the friend group, see, I don't know, it's giving, we are close friends and we know that you accidentally murdered your mother and that might be a little traumatic for you. Just kidding. It's an 80s movie. They're like, move on, move out the way. Very healthy. Oh dear. So Ed Jr. is kind of unhappy after the phone call. Apparently, his father is having another one of his spells. And by spells, we mean the kind that comes from a bottle because he's an alcoholic. Ed Jr. is not really into this, clearly hates his father. Okay, we'll move on. So Big Ed wants Ed Jr. to close down his condo for the winter. Ed Jr., again, complaining. Do work. It's fall break. There. Oddly enough, it seems like the two Eds, despite having a similar name, don't get along. Wonder why. Guess we'll never know. The group, they have this weird thing where they just we kind of go around the table as they like smile at each other and have this clearly like unspoken agreement as they oddly, and I mean oddly, pass around a list of chores that Ed Jr. had written down around and just like nod at one another. It's a weird choice, and I dig it. And they really want to go to this condo at the beach. So Ed Jr. kind of reluctantly agrees, but he's got a bad feeling about this. And I wonder why. Like, actually, though, like, why did he have a bad feeling about that? Like, obviously, in the film, like, it's foreshadowing, but like, in terms of not being an audience member, but like character, why would Ed Jr. have a bad feeling about that? Like, why though? Actually, I'm so very curious. The next day, the group's already together in Ed Jr.'s car, which doesn't run very well. It's an 80s movie, and if 80s movie have taught me anything, it's that I should be very thankful to be alive today when our cars actually work, because in the 80s, cars did not. I don't know if there's any trope more common in an 80s horror movie than the car won't start. I think that might be the most common one. So they go to pick up Ralph, again, group jokester, and he makes a joke that his girlfriend, Sue, won't be able to join them, but it turns out she can. Oh, Ralph, you funny guy. It's a terrible joke. Like, what a gag. Ay. Right. So Ed Jr., again, once he gets the car to start, drives the group to the beach. But on the way there, we get a fantastic montage with the song. I love this song. It's so sitcom-y, not just the song, but the whole montage itself. And this movie it just plays like Three's Company or Facts of Life. It's just, but if it was a horror movie, it's so vaguely a horror movie. Now I kind of want Three's Company as a horror movie. Someone do that. Anyway, it's a comedy with brutal kills. That should have been the tagline. Although, okay, their tagline was better. Right. And we're going to get the full song here, by the way. It's like a full, like 3-4 minutes. But sadly, the song is not on Spotify, which is kind of criminal. You can find it on YouTube though, but I wish it was on Spotify. Anyway, so we stop at a gas station. Ralph goes inside to get beers and sees a sign stating that senior citizens get a discount. And the clerk says you have to be over 65 to get this discount, which Ralph replies he's getting his degree in law. Oh my God, this is about to be annoying. And that sign is discrimination, which he says, I want to emphasize, to an elderly black man in the 80s. Could you imagine the privilege, the goal? Whoa. So Ralph suggests, being the kind man that he is, that he'll get a second pack or a six pack if the teller will give him the 10% off, to which the teller agrees. Then Ralph leaves thinking he just pulled one over on this old man. But then an older woman comes out, I'm assuming it's this teller's wife, and asks if another smart college kid has talked himself into buying 2 6-packs instead of one, and they both chuckle. And honestly, you know what? It was worth the joke. It was. And I'm assuming that these older people were actually maybe the owners of this gas station, because they definitely were actors. And, I like the moment. It's dumb, but I think it's fun. And I like seeing Ralph kind of being an idiot. Back to the song, because fuck yeah, if I had that song, I'd use it in my movie as much as possible too. And back to the travel montage, and also the song gets better because then there's a sax solo, and the sax is the saxiest of instruments. True fact. We finally get to the condo, like 10 minutes into the movie. It's probably more. I should have looked. And they find that the door is unlocked and slightly ajar. Ralph is hesitant to go inside, saying something doesn't look right. Ed Jr. comes up, goes in, and says, that's nothing, just a mess. And when the rest of the party follow him in, and we find that it is a lot more than a little mess, it's a lot of mess, and I want to clean it. Ed Jr. thinks that his dad and his drinking buddies had a party at the condo and then left it a mess, which he's probably right. There are bottles everywhere. Like, think of a counter and just imagine that counter completely covered with empty bottles. And then double it, and you're getting close to what this place is. It's just bottles everywhere. Pam notices one of the glasses has condensation on it still, which would imply that whoever was there left very recently, because that's how condensation works. And she asks when they left, because she's smart and aware. Ed Jr. has no idea. She suggests they call the cops because someone might have broken in, which doesn't make sense because this does seem like there were people at a party drinking and someone recently left. That doesn't imply anything's wrong. This girl is actually maybe a little bit too much. I know they're trying to do like the Laurie Strode thing where she's just very aware that something's awry, but it's to the point where it's ridiculous. I wish they maybe had toned her down a little bit in this aspect because she always wants to call the cops. Like, girl, no, stop. It's North Carolina. Ew. We'll move on. Ed Jr. doesn't think anyone is broken in, but also the island doesn't actually have a police station. They're on the mainland, and the police just patrol at night, which I think is a great setup, and that's really good screenwriting. It shows that they can't get easy access to help if they need it. However, that is a little undone because this is one of the rare horror movies where the cops actually do show up, which is weird, and I do think it's a little bit funny when it happens at the end. They find another room. This looks like a trophy room for a hunter, sort of. So Ed Jr. says his father likes to joke that he's hunted everything but man, though he does have a framed photo of a dead man on his wall in the trophy room. Ed Jr. explains it off that his dad ran over this man with a ski boat, and they all just stare at him in kind of mortification, as you would if you just seen a dead picture of a man that your friend's father freaking hung in his trophy room. Like, it's like the shark, like the wrong shark that they killed in Jaws. You know what I mean? It looks like that. It's weird. It's real weird. Ed Jr. gets kind of uncomfortable, that kind of uncomfortable smile where like you kind of smile, but you shouldn't be smiling, and you're just like, I need everyone to stop looking at me now. If you've ever had that, I'm going to move on because I'm awkward. So he assures them it was an accident, but, like, a junior, it clearly wasn't. You're lying to yourself. And I mean, I get it, but baby boy, your dad's weird. I was really having to stop myself from dropping the F-bomb there. Meanwhile, Linda puts a pair of sunglasses on a deer's head, and I don't know why, but I thought that was very funny and worth writing down. I'll move on. As she picks up a okay, so it's a thing called a gaff, and I'm glad they named it because I wouldn't know what that was. It's a hook. If you've seen the poster of the movie, that's what it is. So that's called a gaff. I'm assuming GAFF. Really guessed on that. And Ed Jr. kind of explains what it is. And honestly, since it's Linda who picks it up, that's no, I'm wrong. It's Sue who picks it up. Now I can't remember who picked it up. I'm getting them confused. Damn the man. Well, either way, it's foreshadowing. Terrible, terrible, traumatic foreshadowing. Ed Jr. then shows them all to their bedrooms upstairs, and the camera holds on a weird red mask while ominous music begins to play. Because, oh, right, this is not a sitcom. This is a horror film about Ed Jr. unpacking his childhood trauma. Well, okay, it's not, but that's also, it is. Anyway, cut to Big Ed Jr. Nope, I just messed that up. Cut to Big Ed. In a closet in the garage, sleeping, although he's smoking. I'm not sure what happened in that scene because it's kind of smoky. Like maybe someone was smoking and they didn't clear it enough. I don't know what's happening, but he's watching them maybe. So maybe he wasn't sleeping. I don't know what's happening. Big Ed's a weird dude. Back in the room, I should say, I forgot to mention that they had noticed that Big Ed's axe. I keep wanting to call him Big Ed Jr. now. Shoot, I've messed this up. This is why you don't give people the same names in movies. Anyway. They notice that his battle axe is missing. The fact that he has a battle axe is honestly the coolest part about him. And this makes Pam more nervous. She really wants to report this. Like, girl's obsession with the cops is just, no, it's not it. It's just not it. Is her dad a cop? I need to know more about her backstory. Ed Jr. ends up promising that they will notify the owner. He says that he'll call his father to see if he took the battle axe, and if not, then they'll report that it's missing. Did Pam really think someone was gonna like show up with the battle axe and kill them? I mean, she's right. So the movie vindicates her paranoia, but on the surface, it is kind of dumb. We'll move on. The couples begin to couple because it's an 80s horror movie, and that's how those work. Big Ed is sleeping with his battle axe like a stuffed animal, like he's like clinging onto it like it's his safety weapon. You know, safety weapon, it doesn't sound as funny as safety blanket, but you get what I mean. And he's dreaming of like strangling young Ed Jr., like his son as a child, like the actor who played the kid, of shooting young Ed Jr., of slitting young Ed Jr.'s throat. Like, he's very mentally well. Could you imagine if your parent like had these kind of dreams about murdering you? Like that, how do you ever talk to them again? Question mark on that. Not healthy. Moving on. Meanwhile, the young people are laughing and drinking by the fire. Mike and Linda go out to the garage, look around while Big Ed watches them. I gotta say, on a side note, the quality of the film is fantastic. Just like on a side, it's really, really good looking. A lot of like regional horror movies tend to be kind of degraded or have like not very good restorations. But the Mutilator definitely is worth a Blu-ray. Like it is real clean. It's very, very good looking. Somebody definitely took care of it. And I also think it has a lot to do with just kind of it being a little bit more popular. So maybe they had the money to take care of it or just care about it. Because I think a lot of other ones just maybe didn't have that. The group eats, and then Mike and Linda go out for a walk on the beach, really padding out the runtime, but they're cute, so I'll allow it. The guys in this movie are kind of awkward, but they seem like real people. They're not just relegated to typical or horror movie fashion of making men perverted jerks. Like they seem like they're kind of goofy real people. Maybe that's another reason why I like this movie a little bit more. After a while, the rest of the group goes out on the beach to look for Mike and Linda, who are now in a pool. And there's a thunderstorm rolling in because you gotta have a thunderstorm, I guess. I don't know about that one. But it's pretty if you ever have an opportunity to go on the East Coast and watch a thunderstorm on the beach. Very pretty, very, very pretty. Sorry, had to get a drink. Okay, so then Mike and Linda are at the pool to a song that sounds like the beginning of Cheers, which I found suspicious. It sounds suspiciously, one might say, like the beginning of Cheers. It's definitely not the same song, but it sounds kind of like a slowed down version of it. And we watch as they strip down and go for a swim. And you know what? For being as gruesome as this movie is, it's we don't really see anyone. I don't think we see anyone nude. Weird, unique. Maybe another reason why I like it. I will say it's kind of important to note that I don't know if the pool is supposed to be in the film opaque. Like the water isn't like in a pool, if you're jumping into a pool, like you can see the bottom of the pool. Like it's transparent, you know? Like it's very clean water, but this I think I read they put milk in it. So it wouldn't be clear. So you can't see through it. They do mention that there's a lot of chlorine in it, but that wouldn't make it like that. It just makes it smell bad. Anyway, Big Ed is watching the young people walk down the beach. Mike and Linda are still playing in the pool. We learned from the youth on the beach that Pam is a virgin. Apparently, this is something the whole group talks about, which is weird and not inappropriate at all. I do again want to emphasize that the guys in the movie aren't being perverted jerks, but I don't know. It still is an 80s horror movie. And I will choose not to focus on this for mental health reasons. Anyway, Big Ed Jr. finally enters the pool with Mike and Linda playing like pool tag. Not Marco Polo, pool tag. I'm giving the camera a suspicious look right now. You can't see it, but just know it's there. Linda is slow motion grabbed from underneath while she's floating on the surface. Mike pokes his head up from the water and then back down again, so he ends up missing Big Ed, killing Linda, and then bodily lifting her out of the pool and stealing their clothes. How Mike missed this whole thing is wild, but we're just gonna go with it because we have no other options. Like, I think that's probably the most ridiculous thing in the movie. It's kind of silly. I had read that they had wanted him to shoot her with a harpoon, but that would make even less sense because then there would be blood in the water and Mike would have definitely have noticed. So I don't know what if anything they'd meant to kill him differently. Question mark on all that because Mike ends up getting out of the pool and he follows a trail of his and Linda's clothing all the way back to the garage where he opens the door and ends up getting killed by Big Ed. And Big Ed just rushes him coming out of the closet door with some kind of machine. I don't know exactly what it is. Oh, weed whacker? I have no idea what this is. It's something that cuts Mike very, very violently. It's very violent and bloody. Mike is screaming as he's dying. We hold on the effect for a really, really long time and pretty good lighting. The effect is fantastic. I don't know who did the effects. I should look it up. I'm such a jerk for not. But kudos to them because they did a really fantastic job. It's super freaking impressive. And Big Ed pulls Mike into the closet with Linda and he kind of stabs Linda's head through a spike on the wall and it like holds her body up so you can tell he's kind of he's kind of trying to like display them as trophies again. He does the same. It's like mounting them on the wall, really. And I'll be honest, I'm not a hunter. I don't understand hunters, but this is what they do. Gross. Anyway, I'm sorry if you can hear me typing. So the special effects. Oh, for the Mutilator were done by Mike Shostrom. I don't know how to say his name. So Mark, and it's Shostrom. I've definitely seen him in a lot of interviews. He's done effects for so many movies. Really pretty well-known guy. He must have been really young when he did this. But that explains why they look so good, because he's very, very talented. Anyway, so shout out to him, because, 80s horror movie effects and lighting for me in these 80s horror movies really make or break it. The effects are kind of what people go for these movies for. So if you don't have good effects, it's just either you better have a great plot, or it better be it's so bad it's good. This movie is definitely, the effects are the star of this movie, I think. And also just how ridiculous the plot is. Poor Ed Jr. Anyway, back to the plot. Segue. Meanwhile, again, the two couples are walking along the beach, and they run into a police officer on the beach who warns them to go back home because of the storm. They also talk about who was or was not at the condo. Pam still being annoying about it. Sorry, Pam, but it's true, you are. And it's just like not how you talk to cops. It's just weird. Anyway, I don't know. She just needs to chill a little bit. I don't know why she's just so worried. Again, I wish we got a little bit more on her backstory. The only backstory we have is on Ed Jr. So the cop goes to investigate the possibility that something is kind of wrong. He's not sure. He decides to look around the condo. I mean, honestly, good on him for, doing something. Although unfortunate for him, because Big Ed Jr. finds him. And for his transgression of being nosy, he gets a wooden fence post to the face, which I don't think a wooden fence post would go through a person like that, but honestly, hell yeah, looks cool. Then he gets decapitated, and the severed head looks so great. Like, this is a great effect. Honestly, Mark, oh my god, should I try to find a pronunciation? Shostrom? Mark Shostrom. Fantastic. This is so good looking. And we really hold on his impaled body while he's bleeding and gurgling before he gets decapitated. It's just impressive. It's so great. Oh man. And also, for a regional movie that probably didn't get a big theatrical release in any of NATO theaters, who don't have to worry about ratings, this movie probably got away with a lot because they weren't submitting it. Because if they did, it would have gotten an X for sure. I could be wrong on that, but I can't believe this would have not got it an X with how violent it is. And we'll get to specifically what kill I think would have made it an X, because I don't think it had an R, right? Now I need to look it up. Release. Yeah, X rating. Originally wanted to assign the film an X rating. And then it looks like, I don't know. Tried to pull screenings in Middle American theaters. Couldn't get advertising or screenings because it didn't have an R. And then it looks like Cooper released and edited the film to the MPA's specifications. So I'm assuming just the film that I'm watching is the, quote, unrated movie, and that it has been restored to Buddy Cooper's original vision, because they would have had to pull a couple of these kills. There's no way they got Sue's kill in this movie with an R. All right, so the college kids return to the condo for a rousing game of the friendship ender itself, Monopoly. Can Monopoly get a horror movie already? Because come on, if there's a horror movie, oh wait, no, that's just capitalism, just real life. Doesn't need a horror movie. That's depressing. We'll move on. Pam has really had enough of Ralph's tomfoolery. That was a hard word to say. Don't know why I doubled down on it. Anyway, so he suggests Lions Matt bluff Wow, I cannot talk. Blind man's bluff to increase his chances of survival because Pam was about to take his head off, or maybe something else. Anyway, so I'm going to explain blind man's bluff because I've never heard of this. So this is what a junior says is how you play. Everyone gets a beer, which is the most important part. They turn out the lights. Who's ever it stays in the house. The rest go outside, have a beer, and then the person playing it hides, and everyone else comes to try and find who's ever it. And when they find who's ever it, they lay down or stand up next to them so that when there's only one person left stumbling around in the dark. I don't get the game. That's how it was explained. Okay. Guys, you're in college. Just keep playing Monopoly, you cowards. I mean, given Ralph didn't want to die, but come on. He's going to die anyway. So while they're playing, Big Ed comes into the condo and lurks around. Visually, I do think the scene was a little bit confusing because the film is lit so that we as the audience can see what's happening, which is smart, but it's the actors are playing it as if they can't see, like it's a lot darker than it actually is. So when they're hiding it, I thought that they could see Big Ed and that they were aware someone else was in the house. But then I realized that is not the case, that they're just playing the game, which goes on for too long. I think it was supposed to be building tension, but it did not. To me, it did not do that. Into who's the game ends. Pam's still worried about Mike and Linda, but Ralph assures her that they're probably fine. Ralph has been trying to get Sue into bed all night. Pam tells Ed Jr. that she likes him, but she's not going to sleep with him that night. Honestly, good for her. And now we know that, again, we're doubling down. She's a virgin, so she gets to live. Jesus. Big Ed puts the cop on display with those rest of the trophy bodies. Victims? You know what I mean. While getting intimate, Sue stops Ralph. She tells him to go downstairs and lock up and check for Mike and Linda. Ralph rushes to check, and by rushes, I mean the footage is literally sped up with Benny Hill music playing. It's like, it's so funny. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't work, but for me, it does. It's goofy. It's silly. I like it. It fits in with the rest of this almost sitcom-esque horror film, I think, really well. I wouldn't call it a horror comedy, but I don't know. It's just, I don't think it feels disjointed, but I would call it like, I don't know, kind of a sweet horror movie? That seems wrong too. Well, yeah, almost. I mean, hokey might be the best word. It's a hokey horror movie. It just seems like a paradox, not a paradox. Oxymoron. Seems like an oxymoron. Well, anyway, when the footage slows down, he complains about having to lock up the doors to the house that he's sleeping in with all the male privilege I have ever heard in my freaking life. Lock your doors before you go to sleep. Windows too. What is wrong with you? I mean, I know the killer was already in the house, but like, damn. Ralph continues his voyage to look for Mike and Linda to the garage, and whilst talking to himself, again, kind of funny. I don't know. Ralph is, I think he's funny enough. Like, I don't get annoyed with Ralph. And that's a character that in a lot of other horror movies, like the kind of jokey character can be really grating. Like Shelly in Friday the 13th Part 5. Nope, Part 3. I can't count. Part 3. Shelly, I think, being the joke. I mean, I'm thinking a lot of the Friday the 13th films, the jokester character is just a bit too much. And it gets a little grating. Yeah, don't love that. I think the best, obviously, is going to be, I don't remember his name, the guy in Cabin in the Woods, but it's definitely an archetype in horror movies, well, slasher movies, with a hit or miss for me. And this was, I think he's funny enough. Also, I like his accent. Anyway, he thinks that Mike and Linda are in the closet and goes to nail the closet shut and then realizes that's a little bit too far. So I like that he has some conception. And also, it's North Carolina. I'm assuming fall break has to be in September, right? So I don't know. It probably wouldn't be too cold, but like still maybe something you wouldn't want to do. I don't know. I'd be a little worried about that. Like if it was summer, it would still be really warm, so you wouldn't have to worry about anything. But fall, I'm not sure if I would like do that. But then suddenly Big Ed comes out with a pitchfork thingy. Don't you just love how great I am with naming all of these instruments he's killing people with? Like I really have my finger on the pulse of tools, tool names. I'm a Tim the Tool Man knowledge person. Anyway, again, we see to great effect the pitchfork thingy going into Ralph's neck, and then Big Ed sticks it through the door. So he kind of gets stuck to the door, and it's gory and awesome. And we hold on it. To hold on an effect like this, I really can't like tell you how much they have to go through to make it look good, especially with the lighting they're doing. It's really, really impressive. Okay, so Sue, meanwhile, is upstairs in her nightgown that leaves nothing to the imagination. I mean, it's doing the Lord's work, keeping everything in and just barely. Waiting for Ralph, who let's assume won't be showing back up because, dead. So she decides to go look for him. Keeps thinking she's hearing things and trying to wake Ed Jr. up, who apparently is the deepest sleeper on the effing planet. And she just keeps laying back down when he won't wake up. Like, girl, what? We see Big Ed has entered the house to get his, once again, just, I don't know, harpoon gun, question mark? I mean, I know is a harpoon gun a thing? I don't even know if I'm making up stuff at this point. Yeah, so anyway, he grabs that, and Pam, meanwhile, has left to go look for the others because, like, no one is in their rooms at this point. And then Big Ed has the gaff now. The gaff, the big hook thing. Okay. Pam wakes up Ed Jr. Again, this poor guy really likes his sleep. But it's so weird. She says all the kids are missing. And I gotta say, I have never referred to anyone who is my age as a kid. Even when I was like in college, like when I was a senior, I didn't even refer to freshmen as kids. Like I wouldn't, I don't know. I've like as an adult, I referred to an actual child as a kid, but never someone who's like within a few years of my own age, because that's just strange. It's a weird thing to do. I'm in my 30s writing about college kids, and I think of them as kids, but without thinking that someone else who's also in college would not think that someone their age is a kid. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm weird. I don't know. It's just something that's always bothered me in horror movies or just movies in general, when people refer to the people their own age as kids. I mean, there's times where it's like you kind of want to be condescending. You're like, sure, kid, I mean, I've maybe done that. I think there was a guy I went to college with that I maybe called kid a few times because I knew it got on his nerves. But that's about it. Like if they're doing it facetiously, sure. But to just in earnest call someone your own effing age a kid is weird. I don't know. It bothers me. Back to the movie. So Sue is running around still without a bra, just like she's going to feel that tomorrow. This is one of those things where you could tell men are doing all this and have no idea what it's like to have breasts. she's going to be sore in the morning is what I'm saying. Well, she's not, because she'll be dead. Actually, she goes back inside to find Pam and Ed Jr. And Pam is totally taking charge of the situation. She tells everyone to get dressed, get a jacket on. We're leaving. Go off, queen. I respect you now. You have fully been redeemed. I love that. You tell them. Sue doesn't want to leave without Ralph, but Pam is really adamant. So they decide to take one more look and suggest splitting up. Pam says she's not separating from Ed Jr. Again, smart. However, Ed Jr., I don't know how tall he is, but he looks very petite. Like he looks smaller than me. And that's saying something. So this leaves Sue to go around herself. As soon as she gets to the corner of the house, she's immediately grabbed by the throat and taken by Big Ed Jr. to his work table, and holy Mary, mother of where the is that gaff going? I don't want to see this. I don't want to see this. Oh my god. We see the hook going between her legs. Now, here's the thing. I've seen this in horror movies before. I've seen a horror movie or two in my life. In fact, I've seen 350. I've kept a very specific count on my letterbox. I'm at 350 80s horror movies. I've seen a lot of 80s horror movies. I've seen this before where the killer will put a weapon between a girl's legs. I think, to me, the one that I think of after this one would be Slumber Party Massacre 3, where he puts the drill between her legs. But I've seen this a lot, especially Italian horror movies, but American horror movies never go through with it. Italian ones will. They'll stab a girl up there, but but American horror movies, someone always interrupts and the killer ends up not being able to do what they were going to. That is not what happens in this one. The gaff goes into her between legs. I'm not sure that I'm allowed to say that on Spotify or YouTube. I feel like I'm not. And he goes up through, and we see it come up through her groin area. We hold on it. I don't wanna. And then once it's through, he then takes up the battle axe and kills her. Like, what the Big Ed? You didn't need to go that hard. What did she do to you? What the F? No one even has sex in this movie. What's happening? She did not need to be killed that hard, man. And this scene is probably the most famous scene in the movie. Like, it goes places you don't want it to. So we're at the last, like, 10 minutes or so of the movie where Pam and Ed Jr. fight off Big Ed. And that might seem like an unfair fight, but let me tell you, Big Ed is so crazy that he's fighting for like 3 people. He's like at that point where he's got that like insane person strength. Like, he's got, like, I wonder if he's doing fentanyl. Like, he's got that kind of strength, you know? He's like ready to bite people's noses and ears off and stuff. All right, so Pam Jr. Shoot, now I'm like portmanteauing the names. Pam and Ed Jr. go into the dreaded garage and find real dead Sue on the work table, real effing dead, decapitated and everything. Man, that battle axe is sharp. Kind of want a battle axe now. Huh. Anyway, so Pam screams to cover her up, and Ed Jr. is freaked. Shakily, he opens the closet to get like a tarp or something, but instead of finding a tarp, he finds the bodies on display. And then see the shadow of Big Ed and the battle axe coming back into the garage. Ed Jr. pushes Pam into another closet and kind of blocks her in. Then Ed Jr. and Big Ed fight. Ed Jr. doesn't, again, small guy, doesn't get very far. He gets knocked out real effing quick. Way to go, Ed Jr. And then Big Ed takes his legs and wrists and tie them together. So let me try that again. He ties his legs together and ties his wrists together. So I'm explaining that better. Then he raises the battle axe to, battle axe him to death. But Pam breaks out of the closet and screams, "Leave him alone!" And then starts throwing weapons at him. I didn't mention it, but they had this like pyramid thing. It's a big, heavy chunk of metal. And she's like throwing that at him. He gets stabbed. He just takes it out again. I think he's had to have taken some kind of drug because he just has that like wild man strength. Big Ed stabs Ed Jr. in the leg with the battle axe, and then he's screaming, and then Pam's screaming, and then they're all screaming, and then they're fighting. Pam stabs Big Ed with a pocket knife, I think. It's a little knife. I'm assuming it's a pocket knife. And then Big Ed ends up being incapacitated. Pam cuts Ed Jr. loose. They limp to the car, but again, it's an 80s car, right? Won't start because then it's the rules. And then they realize when they turn the lights of the vehicle on that Big Ed isn't there anymore, like where he was laid out. And in fact, he's on top of the car. Ed Jr., I think at one point screams while Big Ed's attacking them through the roof of the car, "We're gonna die, we're gonna die." Way to go, Ed Jr., you're really helping. That's great for you. Big Ed is really trying to kill Ed Jr. He's got him by the throat, and Pam they used to have these cigarette lighters in cars. I think all cars came with them, actually. It was like this little round thing, and it would get really hot. I don't know how they work. I've never had a car with, or no, I think I did have a car with one, but it didn't come with the actual thing that went in it. It just had the hole for it, but you could use it to like, as like a USB port thing. I don't know how that worked. Very strange. Anyway, I'll move on. But I don't know the age of my age demographic of listeners, so I don't know who knows what this is or not. Anyway, it's the thing that gets really hot that cars used to have and don't have anymore because I guess they don't encourage smoking. Anyhow, so she burns Big Ed's hand, and then he kind of falls back to the like trunk of the car. Like he's on top of the car, so he's back on the trunk of the car. And the cops actually show up, which in an 80s horror movie, I mean, other than Halloween, you don't really see a lot of police in horror movies until the end. So it's really weird. But Big Ed is still attacking. So Pam gets the car to start, shoves it in reverse, and backs that bitch all the way up and into a brick wall and cuts Big Ed in half. At this point, Ed Jr. looks back and says the best line in the movie. Jesus Christ, it's my dad. Like, girl, you didn't notice for the past 10 minutes you were fighting your father? You didn't know that was your dad? How? No, really. How? Like, that's the only actual issue I have with the movie. I really would have liked if Ed Jr. had known earlier he was fighting his father and had that kind of reconciliation and kind of breakdown while it was happening, like pleading with his father not to hurt his girlfriend or him, or being like, Dad, why are you doing this? I don't know. Maybe it would have been more fun, or maybe not. I mean, the movie's good enough. Like it's like honestly a nitpick on my part. Like it's not even a real complaint. It's just kind of a, well, maybe it would have been fun. Maybe it would have been cool, but could do without it. Don't really care that much. But I do think he would have recognized his father earlier. Empty house. So the officer, Molasses, because this dude is slow as hell, finally shows up with a car and tells Pam to pull the car forward instead of like getting out of the car. I don't think someone would have done that. So when they pull forward, like I said, they realize Big Ed's been vivisected. Like he's cut completely in half. Again, and I cannot emphasize enough. Great effect. It is a great effect. It is bloody and gross. The officer goes to look. Turns out Big Ed has one last kill in him. He grabs the officer's leg and with his battle axe severs the leg and dies laughing maniacally. We don't care about physics here. We're just going to go with that. We cut to a sad-looking Ed Jr. limping around the hospital to Pam's room, and we close on them holding each other's hands, looking out at the window. And the credits, honestly, greatest song in a horror movie, Fall Break. Oh yeah, one more time, reprise it. And they also have bloopers. And horror movies should roll credits to bloopers more often. It's a lost art. Bring it back. Yeah, man, that's the end of the movie. I haven't seen the sequel, but I want to. Can't wait till it is distributed by someone, anyone, please. This movie is a 10 out of 10. I mean, my only note was, Big Ed should have recognized his father earlier. And it's disturbing. It's fun. You like the characters. You're kind of rooting for Ed Jr. because he seems like he hasn't had it easy. You question a lot of things that maybe people from North Carolina don't question. Maybe it's a cultural difference. I don't know. I'm not from North Carolina. I've only been there a couple of times. Yeah, great movie. I mean, if you're listening to this, obviously you've seen it, so I wouldn't say I recommend it because you've been recommended. It's just one of those movies that I don't know, wanted to talk about because it's fun. Deserves more love. The sequel deserves a good distributor. Man, maybe this isn't even interesting because it's just like I don't have many jokes for it. Oh, but I don't even know what the sequel's about. Anyway, big applaud for, again, the effects guy, Mark Shostrom. What a talent. What a great movie. Yeah, I don't really have anything to say. Like, leave a comment if you're so inclined. I like comments. Tell me what you think about the movie. What movie would you recommend with this movie? I love pairings. What would I pair this with? Ooh, I don't know. Maybe what's the movie with Madman Mars? Madman from I think 81 or 82. Has to be 81. Madman from 1981, I would pair this with. Also, regional film, lesser quality, but I like the folklore aspect of it. I think it'd be cool with this. Anyways, I've been the Unhinged Binge, and now if you excuse me, I've got some oozing to do. Stay with the rainbows.